Hey guys, so today we are at City Music and I have Jace with us who's going to tell us about the new Zoom H8. If you don't already know what these are audio recorders that used to record sounds for music, videos and podcasts. But before we get into that, Jace, why don't you tell us more about the different Zoom recorders that are available in the market?
Sure. So over here, we have the entire series of the H series from Zoom. Right, so the H series, they are basically all handy recorders. So we have from the H1N all the way to the new Zoom H8. So the H1N, so this is something that a lot of videographers start with as well. I mean, even students, lecturers, they tend to use this because it's so affordable and so portable as well. It's very easy to use a single record button and you have a very nice XY microphone to get ambisonic sound, and it's quite easy to control. There's a gain knob here, and it also helps that there's a line in. In fact, you guys are actually using the old H1, right? The old H1 just for line in from our left mics here. So it's a very simple to use handy recorder. It takes USB power as well. In fact, actually all the Zoom recorders take USB power, so you never had to worry about running out of batteries. In fact, a lot of people actually hot shoe mount on top of their cameras instead of using a shotgun.
The audio is just much better than the preamps inside the camera.
Exactly, right? So H1N is really one of the most popular products that we have. Moving on, right, we have the Zoom H2N. So the H2N is quite a different ball game, right? Actually, we tend to find that musicians tend to use it a bit more because you have a multi pickup pattern. So you can go from omni to figure 8, right, to the standard cardioid. So this gives you a lot of options in terms of how you want your pickup pattern to be. And because of its versatility, a lot of musicians, they just plant it in the middle of the stage and then to capture the stage sound especially when they're doing like behind the scenes vlogs or just doing practice recordings. So the H2N does give that much more versatility compared to the single XY configuration here. And right now we have the H3 VR. So the H3 VR is a very weird brother of the lot, right? It looks like a spaceship,
Exactly.
Right? So the H3 VR is really meant for, right now we have the trend of VR, things like the Insta360, you take 360 audio videos, right? So you kind of want to pair it with the 360 audio as well. So this allows you to capture sound in 360. You can convert it to 5.1 or 7.1 surround sound as need to. The conversion is done within the device itself. So it is a very niche product, but we do see a big increase in people who are looking to getting like 360 audio, specifically for VR usage. And of course, we do have those people who actually use it for ASMR style videos as well. So that's a very niche use, and yeah, it's a very fun little device. And now we start moving into the H4n Pro, right? So the H4n Pro, again, you still have that nice XY capsule, but what it starts to give you is that you do have XLR inputs over here. So like most cameras in the market, unless you go into like cinema cameras, you don't have XLR inputs at all. So having the H4n Pro, you get the XY audio, but you have the options of getting the XLR input in. So if you do need multiple mic setups, right, it just is pretty much like adding on XLR inputs to your camera. Now we move on to the H5. So the H5 actually has the same amount of inputs as the H4 in that there's XY1, 2, and then the 2 XLR, right? However, H5, they call it H5 because the capsule is actually removable. So you can switch out between something like this, XY capsule, to maybe something like this, which gives you 2 more XLR inputs.
So there's 4 total?
Yeah, so there's 4 total. There's always 4 total inputs, right? Or you can change out to something like even a shotgun microphone. So this adds on a lot of versatility to the H5, which the H4 does not offer. And moving on, we go to the H6. I guess this guy has been like the gold standard for handy recorders just because of the sheer number of inputs it has and how powerful it is, right? Because you have that 4 XLR in, as well as the XLR capsule. Again, hot swappable. Yeah, exactly.
So you get 6 inputs total.
Right. So if you use something like the ESH6, you get 6 XLR inputs, which is crazy.
It's insane. I wouldn't use so much of that.
Yeah, that's pretty much like having a mixer on your camera already. This is the model to go for if you need multiple inputs. And it has been away since like 2013 when it was first released. But finally, in 2020, we got the Zoom H8.
This is what I'm pretty excited to see.
Yeah, so this is what you're here for today. Right, so this is the Zoom H8.
It looks like a beast.
I mean, it looks like a figure 8. Yeah. And we have official confirmation from Zoom that That's what it was meant to be. Like, but I guess like we have people saying, you know, it looks like a beetle,
It looks like a spider.
it looks like a spider, looks like an octopus, right? And it does when you have all the wires
All
hooked
the
up.
wires, yeah.
Yeah. So over here we have, just from on the body itself, you know, we have the 6 XLR inputs, 2 of them being combo jacks, so you can plug in 1/4 inch if you need to. And again, you have that removable capsule.
That adds on 2 more
Yeah,
extra
so that's 2 more XLR inputs. And the interesting thing is that on the H8, the reader right now, this plug port, it actually reads up to 4 inputs.
I saw on the Zoom website where they have this additional, I think a more advanced model where it's 10 inputs for XLR. Is that different?
Exactly. So basically, there'll be 3 new capsules coming out with the Zoom H8. So the first one will be the EXH8. So basically, it's like the EXH6, except that it offers you 4 XLR inputs, which brings the total to 10. Right? So because there are 10 inputs and your left-right stereo is actually a 12-track multi-recorder. Yeah, that's really overkill for most people, but you know the option is there if you need to. In fact, like this is something that is not just for like videographers, it's really like for musicians or podcasters, even for field recording.
It can do everything.
It can do everything, right? And of course, moving on, we still have another capsule, which is the Ambisonic capsule. So basically, it's kind of like a mini H3 VR, except you just plug it in, and you capture 360 audio as well. So you have the same capability of the H3 VR on the H8. Again, it's going to be kind of niche, but I guess as we move on into more VR-related material being produced, that's definitely something that will be a nice addition. And the last capsule will actually be something like this, but it will be a 2-in-1 capsule, right? So it starts from XY, but you can actually open it up so that it will be like AB. Yeah, so you can go from a tight XY to a wider AB depending on your situation. So it's much more versatile.
So you get a wider pickup pattern?
Yeah, exactly, right? And so you get a more distinguished left and right signal. And unfortunately, those capsules are only compatible with H8. They are not backwards compatible. But everything that is available in lineup right now is actually compatible with the H8. So you can't use the new capsules on the H6 or the H5 because those only read 2 channels. All the new capsules require 4 channels. Turning on, immediately we see, you have a much larger LCD display
than the H6 and
than H6, H5, H4. Actually, H4 they kind of caught up a bit with the Neo refresh. But H8, so immediately we see it's a color screen, right? And it's also a touch screen as well.
So it's much more intuitive to use.
Yes, a lot easier to use, and I guess it's a 2020 update. You kind of had to.
You had to do it. You had to go to Times.
You could go to Times, right? So basically, they distill the ease of use into 3 distinct applications, where you have field recording. So in a field recording app, basically what happens is that if you do not arm your tracks, they will not show up. So you only have to monitor whatever is armed. So if I arm this track, immediately you can see, and I'll just turn up again a bit, so I can monitor whatever I'm using. If I arm these other tracks, they will show up on my channel list. So I can monitor all channels at the same time, simultaneously, which is a lot more important for someone who is doing field monitoring, right? And of course, each track has their own input level. If you need phantom power, you can turn it on. There's a low cut, compressor, limiter, wall gate, fader or pen, and a stereo link. So you can link 2 channels together to be one stereo channel. And this is per channel, so every channel can have its own individual effects if you need be. So Music app is very similar, except that you have a larger overview of your individual channel. So you have individual gain, channel gain. Right, it's a lot easier to access. And if you go in the channel, you actually have a 3-band EQ per channel. Right, you also have a pen here, as well as the effects and channel, as well as effects. And lastly, we move on into the podcast application. So over here you see these 4 buttons. Basically, these are sample patches. Right. So what you can do is, for example, I can program sample 1 to be a laugh track. So maybe I tell a joke, right? I just press this and then it will play a laugh track. Or maybe sample 2 can be applause track, and so on and so forth. So for someone who wants to do podcasts on the go, right, this allows you to do something like maybe like a roadcaster, but in a much smaller package, in a much more affordable package as well. And that is pretty much it for the Zoom H8. Right, it does offer a lot more than your standard handy recorders. It offers you a lot more versatility, it offers you a lot more options, and definitely a lot more inputs.
So would those features be enough to convince someone who's using the H6 or H5 to jump over to the H8?
Right now the H6 is going for $480, whereas the H8 is going for $565. If you believe that the $85 is worth it for the additional inputs, you're talking about 4 more additional inputs at this point. If you're pairing with the ESH8, then definitely there is a huge step up, right? But I guess it really depends on your use case, because I would guess like most amateur photographers, videographers, usually they don't need so many inputs. But is there, if you ever feel the need to, and kind of like future-proof yourself, it is, I would say in that price range, it is a very negligible price increase to get that, as well as having the option, to have all these effects on hand, right? Having the ability to podcast with your sample patches, to really up your audio game.
That was really informative, Jace. Thank you for having us over at City Music.
Right, thanks for coming over, guys.
If you guys want to find out more about the Zoom H8, you can come down to City Music and find Jace, or you can check the links down below for more information. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.